All right, so first off, I want to say all praise to Yahweh, in the name of His Son, Yahweh Shai, in the name of the Holy Spirit. Double honors to my elders, apostles, and the bishops of Great Millstone, otherwise known as GMS for short, but also known as the Prophets of Doom. These are where I have learned this truth and where I am still learning this truth. And also, I want to say shalom to the remnant and the elect of Israel. Lord willing, I'm of that number. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and continue with this topic that we were speaking of, addressing some of the lies that the world is taken by. Okay, so hold on a second. Let me get the screen up. Okay, so what we're going to address is this input to Google asking, were any of the letters to the churches addressed to any other nation? All right, since it is a big problem in this day, or a big thing of the day, where all inclusion, all right, is thought to be happening when it comes to the Lord, and that's just not true. Okay, so I said I want to ask to get an idea if this truth, the one and only doctrine in which all the scriptures harmonize, is understood and seen by AI, even if this understanding is on a strictly facts-based level. And the reason why I put that is because when you ask it certain things, it'll say that being AI, it can't uh, feel a certain, I don't know, I can't remember exactly why it replied to me this way, but it would mention about only being about facts. Okay, so that's why I worded it that way. So it came back, it says, on a strictly facts-based level, the New Testament letters are addressed either to specific individuals, localized congregations, or the 12 tribes scattered abroad. There is no letter in the New Testament addressed to a non-Israelite nation, such as a letter addressed to the nation of Edom or the nation of Moab. It's all for the Israelites. Okay? So, number one, the specific addresses. It says the primary New Testament epistles fall into three factual categories of addresses: the 12 tribes, the dispersion, and the localized congregations. And I must bring it to light, if you don't know already, that all of these are Israelites. Okay, whether it's the localized congregation, the dispersion, the 12 tribes, it's all for Israel. Okay, as far as the 12 tribes are concerned, it says the book of James 1 and 1, which we read yesterday. We can get it today too. All right, so James. All right, James 1 and 1 reads, James, a servant of Yahweh and of the Lord Yahweh Shai Mashiach, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting. Okay, and then he starts the second verse with lettering it, my brethren. All right, as a matter of fact, let's go here and look at the word for brethren.
Strong's G80, Adelphos. Adelphos.
All right, and when you go into this word, it says a brother, whether born of the same two parents or only of the same father or mother. Okay. Number two, it says having the same national ancestor. belonging to the same people or countrymen. All right, any fellow or man, a fellow believer, united to another by the bond of affection, an associate in employment of office. We just talked about this walk, this ministry being our business, okay, because it is our Father's business. All right, so let's go on here. The dispersion, okay, there was the 12 tribes. Now it's talking about the dispersion or the diaspora. 1 Peter 1:1. Let's go ahead and get that. 1 Peter 1:1 reads, Peter, an apostle of Yahushua HaMashiach, to the strangers scattered through Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, Bithynia. We were scattered everywhere. Okay? Then he starts the second verse by the word elect, because that's all the scriptures are for. We are the only ones who are really taking heed to these scriptures to the best of our ability in sincerity and truth. All right, so as far as the dispersion, 1 Peter 1:1 is addressed to the strangers or elect exiles of the dispersion or the diaspora, living in specific regions of Asia Minor. All right, now as far as the local congregations, it says Paul's letters, okay, Romans, Corinthians, Galatians, etc., are addressed to the saints and churches in specific cities. Saints, speaking of Israelites. All right, number 2, the identity of the churches. It says, from a factual standpoint, the members of these early churches were often identified by their relationship to the covenant fathers of Israel. Hebrews 1:1. All right, let's go there. It reads, Yahweh, or Yahweh, who at sundry times and in diverse manners spake in times past unto the fathers by the prophets. All right, Hebrews 1:1, it says the author identifies his audience by saying, Yahweh spake in time past unto our fathers by the prophets, identifying the audience as the literal descendants of those who received the Old Testament prophets. Okay? It should be becoming clear here that this thing is only for the Israelites. Period. All right. Romans 4:1. Let's go there. All right, it reads, what shall we say then that Abraham, our father, is pertaining to the flesh, hath found? Now, Abraham birthed a lot of nations, okay, but it follows a specific bloodline, okay? Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, okay, which in turn is Yasharallah or Israel, which are the 12 tribes, all right? You didn't hear Abraham, Ishmael, so on and so forth. You heard Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. All right. That is who Yahweh Baal Shem Yahushai is the power of. All right. So Romans 4:1. Paul addresses the church in Rome and refers to Abraham, our father, as pertaining to the flesh. We read in Romans 4:9. Or 9:4, excuse me. Hold on. Okay, Romans 9:4. Who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption, the glory, and the covenants, and the giving of the law, and the service of Yahweh Baal Shem Yahushai, and the promises, whose are the fathers, and of whom, as concerning the flesh, all right, Yahushai came, who is over all. Yahweh bless forever. Amen. All right. So, Paul's letters, Romans, Corinthians, or excuse me, Paul addresses the church in Rome and refers to Abraham, our father, as pertaining to the flesh. 1 Corinthians 10 and 1. Let's go there and read that, although it's probably going to... So 1 Corinthians 10 and 1. Moreover, brethren, I would not that ye should be ignorant, how that all our fathers were under the cloud, and all passed through the sea. Okay? So 1 Corinthians 10 and 1, Paul tells the church in Corinth, all our fathers were under the cloud, and all passed through the sea, referring specifically to the Israelites who left Egypt under Moses. Okay, speaking to the Israelites still. Okay. Number 3 now, Gentiles as scattered Israelites. It says, as you noted, the scriptures harmonize when Gentile in certain contexts is understood as the dispersed Israelites who had lost their heritage. The dispersed among the Gentiles in John 7 and 35 refers to the diaspora or diaspora. All right, Israelites living in foreign nations who had adopted Greek or other pagan customs. And I've mentioned in the video before that the new Hellenization, you could say, is Americanization, or whatever nation that you are amongst as an Israelite. Okay, you are in the mind state or in the mind frame or in the spirit of these nations that you are surrounded by. All right. Again, the dispersed among the Gentiles in John 7 and 35 refers to the diaspora, Israelites living in foreign nations who had adopted Greek or other pagan customs. And we indeed adopted pagan customs here in America, being at liberty. They tell you to do anything. So because this man has told you you can do anything, you'd rather believe this ruler, Esau, than your power, right? You'd rather believe Esau than Yahweh Baal Shem Yahweh Shai. Okay? So, it says, when Paul or Peter write to Gentiles in these cities, they are often addressing people who were once aliens from the commonwealth of Israel. Ephesians, let's go here, Ephesians 2 and 12. All right, Ephesians 2 and 12 reads, let me see. Let me start up here at verse 11. Ephesians 2 and 11. It reads, wherefore remember that ye, being in time past Gentiles in the flesh, all right, walking amongst these nations as these other nations in the mind state, okay, of these other nations. So let me start that all over. Ephesians 2 and 11. Wherefore remember that ye, being in times past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh, made by hands. Now remember, we spoke about the ones who kept following the laws, the Jews or the southern kingdom that were all about the law, how they looked upon the Israelites that were scattered and walking in these pagan ways. They considered you a non-people, okay, a Gentile or a heathen, okay. Verse 12 now says that at that time ye were without Yahushai, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel and strangers from the covenants of promise, having no hope and without Yahweh in the world. All right. So when we were outside of the law, statutes, and commandments, the ways, the belief, the one and true doctrine, our doctrine. All right. When we were walking in the ways of the world, we were aliens and strangers because we did not know Yahweh Shai. Okay. We did not know Yahweh Baal Shem Yahweh Shai. So in turn, we didn't know even ourselves. All right. And being in the world, we didn't really know the world all the way. We had signs and thoughts that this place is fucking wicked. Okay. But to this extent, we did not know the world. We didn't know ourselves. We did not know Yahweh Baal Shem Yahweh Shai. We were strangers and aliens. okay, when it came to our power. All right. It says, again, when Paul or Peter write to Gentiles in these cities, they are often addressing people who were once aliens from the commonwealth of Israel, but were being grafted back in to their own olive tree. Okay? You have to be a part of something in order to return to something. Okay? To be returned back to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, we had to come back into knowing who we are. We have to bethink ourselves. All right? So let's read Romans 11. Go here and see what this is. Okay, so let's start here at let's just go straight to the point. Romans 11 and 24. For if thou wert cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, and wert grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree, how much more shall these, which be the natural branches, be grafted into their own olive tree? So when we come back into this thing, we can't boast against the rest of Israel. I mean, we are separate from the 2/3, being that, well, we don't know who we are. We don't know if we're part of the 2/3, or we don't know if we're a part of the chosen. Our hope is to be a part of the remnant and the elect. But we don't boast against the branches being cut off at this point in time, because their being cut off is an example of all of this being true. So in a way, their walk proves the Lord true also. All right, the position that they're in and everything, okay, proves the Lord's words to be true. And we understand now that also in the kingdom that all Israel is going to be in their right state of mind. The question is, how are you going to get there? Are you going to get there through death by pain and be rebirthed into the kingdom? Or are you going to do the best that you can do to walk in the ways of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai in hopes of being the remnant and the elect and being translated into the kingdom or changed, okay, taken up into the chariots, all right, having Yahushai call you a good servant, all right, placing a crown on your head, all right, having that feast with him, okay, and being a part of that first dominion. All right, that's what we hope to take part of. Okay, so let me see what else is here. All right, it says summary fact. It says the New Testament records. Hold on. Okay, yeah, the New Testament records, or excuse me, the New Testament records do not show the apostles attempting. This is key. All right. The New Testament records do not show the apostles attempting to convert other nations into their own separate Gentile religion. Instead, the facts show a consistent effort to reach the lost sheep of the house of Israel, who were scattered among the nations, exactly as Yahushua commanded. All right. Okay. So that's going to be it for this video before we go into the next and addressing more and more. All right. But keep all these things in mind. Okay. This world is trying to tell you the total opposite than what we are telling you. Okay. Is that going to make a difference that we are up against the world, that they have more numbers, that they have all nations on their side, including 2/3 of Israel, and all we have is a little tiny remnant in the elect? Does it matter? Is that going to change the truth? No, it's not. Okay, the Lord changes not, and He's not going to break His word. Okay, not even for His good name's sake. All right. So all this came through us sincere and edifying. With that, again, I want to say all praise to Yahweh, in the name of his Son, Yahweh Shai, in the name of the Holy Spirit. All right, double honors to my elders, apostles, and the bishops of Great Millstone, otherwise known as GMS for short, but also known as the Prophets of Doom. These are where I have learned this truth and where I am still learning this truth. And also I want to say shalom to the remnant and the elect of Israel. Lord willing, I am of that number, and Lord willing, we'll see you in the next video. Shalom.